evening. This is the September 10, 2025 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'll ask first that the roll be called. And don't include the members that are on Zoom because we have to vote them in first.
Member Moran,
Here.
Member Murphy,
Here.
Member Schultz,
Here.
and Chairman Hornbolt.
Here. Next item is, could the two members that are present by telephone or Zoom or whatever you are, identify yourselves?
Jim Girag.
And Zane, are you on?
Yes, Zennerman is present.
Okay, can I have a motion to permit them to attend by Zoom?
I'll make a motion to accept Zane and Jim by Zoom.
Second. Motion by Mr. Moran, second by Mr. Schultz. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is granted. I understand we also have, do we have a representative from Burr Ridge?
Hi, yes, I'm Ella, the village planner.
Okay, great. There are no minutes to approve, and we have one item of public hearing to consider this evening, and that is petition T 525. It's a text amendment. It is a request to consider proposed text amendment T 525 to the DuPage County Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm sorry, county zoning ordinance relative to the short-term rentals of a residential dwelling unit to align the zoning ordinance with the current initiative for housing solutions and to amend lot requirements, minimum size and width in the R3 and R4 residential zoning districts. Matter was published in the Daily Herald on Tuesday, August 26th. It's Daily Herald, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And I have no comments from any of the authorities to whom we've circulated the petition, but Burr Ridge has requested that we permit Burr Ridge time to comment substantively, and that has been made by means of a letter to the, I guess it's to our zoning staff, and we have a representative from Burr Ridge who might comment further. May I call upon Mr. Haas to present the text amendment?
You do solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give at this cause and out hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes.
Okay, I haven't introduced exhibits, so I'll let you do that.
So my name is Paul Haas, HOSS. I'm Planning and Zoning Administration Coordinator with DuPage County. I want to tender Exhibit Exhibit A, which are the proposed text amendments. You have them in your flyer, but it's only the text amendments as our exhibit. In addition, I want to tender a group exhibit that represents some research that we have done relative to one of the items of the text amendments. It is a countywide data set for 2 subdivisions in each of the townships that represent existing subdivisions where lots are served with septic and well, but are on properties that are less than 20,000 square feet. And that's important to one of the proposed text amendments.
Okay. We'll accept those exhibits. And we had group exhibit, but should we mark it group
B.
exhibit 2?
Yeah, you do B, because we've got exhibit A is,
Yeah, you're not familiar with our procedures, but we customarily use numbers instead of letters.
thank you, sir. Duly noted.
Fire away.
So we're before you again tonight, relative to the DuPage County Ad Hoc Housing Solutions and County Board's initiative relative to trying to scale up more opportunities for rental dwelling units and also for ownership dwelling units. This is an initiative that the county board chair and the county board have put into play to try and develop opportunities for land to be made available for developers to build new units or for property owners to be able to have more rental units within their homes. We bring to you tonight two proposals relative to that initiative. The first one has to do with the allowing properties that are in what are called our urban zoning districts. We have four single-family residential zoning districts, R1, 2, 3, and 4. The R1 and the R2 zoning districts are considered rural zoning districts, irrespective of the type of utilities you have in the R1 and R2 zoning districts. Our zoning ordinance requires that the land be in R1, 100,000 square feet in size, and in R2, 40,000 square feet in size. So once again, whether you're on septic and well or sewer and water, any combination thereof, you still have to meet those 100,000 and 40,000 square foot lot requirements. So that is more dealing with the land relative to, or as opposed to sort of the utility issues. In the R3 and the R4 zoning districts, our zoning ordinance requires that if you are on septic and well, the minimum lot size has to be 40,000 square feet. If you are on sewer and well, 20,000 square feet. In the R3 zoning district, if you're on public sewer and water, lots have to be 15,000 square feet. And in the R4 on sewer and water, 10,000 square feet. So the idea here is that in the R3 and the R4 zoning districts, those are more urban zoning districts. They're more dense. Most of our subdivisions that are in the R3 and the R4 zoning districts were platted back in the 1920s. And so many of the lots in those zoning districts are already well below 40,000 square feet and well below 20,000 square feet. In Exhibit B, parenthetical 2, we have shown two subdivisions in each of the townships in the county that are representative of typical single-family residential subdivisions where sewer and or septic and well are serving the properties, where those lots on average range anywhere from 7,000 to 9,000 square feet, well below the 40,000 square foot lot size requirements that's required for a new lot of record. So for instance, if someone were to come in and take a raw piece of property, maybe a 5-acre tract of land, which there aren't a lot out there, and want to subdivide it into smaller lots on septic and well, they would have to meet the current code of 40,000 square feet. But however, you'll see in Exhibit B that we have many subdivisions in the unincorporated area that are already developed with lots that are less than 40,000, in most instances, less than 20,000 on septic and well. We are proposing to allow as of right and change the ordinance that any lot that is on septic and well in an R3 and an R4 zoning district can now be on 20,000 square foot lots as opposed to 40,000 square foot lots. And the lot width be, instead of 125 feet wide, be 100 feet wide. That we believe is consistent with generally the development that already exists in R3 and R4 zoning districts. And also, we have had conversation with the county health department, and you'll note in your flyer sheet that the county health department's indicated that they have no concerns with the text amendments. And the health department has indicated that there is no minimum lot size in order to accommodate septic and well. That's how many of the lots that were platted back in the 1920s are able to be developed on septic and well. They just have to make it work. So we are proposing this change that would allow for, once again, lots in R3 and R4 zone districts to be on 20,000 square feet on septic and well, as opposed to 40,000 square feet. And then also reducing the minimum lot width from 125 down to 100 feet. That would allow for more lots to be developed, new lots to be built on. And, you know, based on our research, we found that that won't have a detrimental impact to neighborhoods that are already zoned R3 and R4, because the majority of lots in those neighborhoods are already well below the 40,000 square foot lot size, and in many instances, well below the 20,000 square foot that we're proposing for new lots.
Is there anything in here that discusses the type of septic system that would be required to be used.
There is not. Having said that, when the county, this county code has been in place at least since 1985, when the county did a master overhaul of its zoning ordinance. And we looked in our zoning code, and this particular code actually dates back to the 1960s. 1960s and 1985, the county really only had a conventional septic system where you had a septic tank that leached out into a leach field. And then prior to 1985, you actually had to have expansion. You had the ability to have an expansion field on your property. The health department doesn't require that anymore because there are new types of septic systems that if you can't do a conventional septic system with a leach field, there are other types of systems that you can use, such a bio barrier or an aerobic mechanical system that doesn't even require a leach field. Having said that, the health department has indicated that you can still build a conventional septic system on a 20,000 square foot lot. You can do it on a 9,000 square foot lot. But if practically you can't do a conventional system, there are other systems that you can put on there that don't require a leach field. It might cost a little bit more money, but that would be the property owner's choice, decision to go to a different type of septic system, which they could do.
So in other words, we don't have to require that in the ordinance because it is a matter to be resolved by the Public Works Department and the Building Department?
By the health department.
Health department.
Health department. In a similar manner, if we went to a 20,000 square foot lot, if you had, just as an example, if you had a 40,000 square foot lot, you would have a floor area ratio of 0.3, and that means you could build a 12,000 square foot house on your property. If you had a 20,000 square foot lot, the floor area ratio is still 0.3, so that would be a 6,000 square foot house. So if you wanted to build a larger house on the property, you would have to come in and ask for a variation to go to a larger house. In a similar manner, for any building codes, health department codes, you might not be able to do the things that you want to do on that property because it doesn't meet all of the other sort of brick and mortar codes.
Right. Oh, that makes sense and ties in. All right, does anyone else have any questions? We can debate this further when we consider the matter, but does anyone have any immediate questions? And our members online, any questions? Jim or Zane?
No,
No question.
And Ms. Stern, I want to provide, I'm going to leave the record open in this case in order to accommodate the request from your village. Do you have any comments now, or you can make comments in writing later?
Yeah, I have no comments. I'm just here to listen and provide details about the conversation back to Burridge.
Okay, if we consider this matter at our October recommendation meeting, ordinarily, we require additional comments to be submitted a week or two prior to the date of that meeting. Do you have a time deadline that meets that schedule, or? Paul, can we
Yeah,
just-
so we have a plan commission meeting September 15th, and this item is on the agenda, so then I could provide you back with our comments of concern or non-concern by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week.
Okay, well, we'll let the record open for your comments, and I guess we have to say for any comments
Mhm.
till 1 week before our recommendation meeting, which is October 2. That will occur at 5:30 PM in this room.
Okay,
I don't know the exact date, but you can all do the math, so. You could do that at that time. I hope that meets with your requirements.
perfect, thank you.
There's nothing else. I'll indicate there's,
Well, I go under
oh,
the,
you have more?
I do, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not done, I'm sorry. That was just one part of the text amendments.
Comments.
Sorry, I apologize. So the second text amendment, I'm gonna go to one really quick. It's just a quick cleanup measure. In the chart that I've given you, there has been a historic error in our single-family detached dwelling units that are served with public sewer and water. It says septic and water. It should be sewer and water. So we're just changing it from septic to sewer. That's just a cleanup. But really, the big ticket item before you tonight is we, as part of our housing solutions program, we are proposing to regulate short-term rentals. Those would be Airbnbs and VRBNOs. The reason we've taken this opportunity to do it at this point is the county does not have a specific regulation on short-term rentals, Airbnbs. And there is some litigation occurring with another community in DuPage County that's in federal court, alleging that there's a violation of Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights of a property owner, which is essentially a concern about a government taking someone's ability to use their property without just compensation. So we felt this was a good opportunity for us to sort of get our house in order and either regulate Airbnbs or short-term rentals and prohibit them or allow them. We've chosen in this proposed text amendment to allow them and regulate them. Currently, there are approximately anywhere from 65 to 300 short-term rentals in unincorporated DuPage County at any one time. The only time that we hear about short-term rentals is typically when the property owner who has a short-term rental calls and complains and says that someone is damaging their own property. That's when we hear about them. Or if there are parties that just get out of hand, then we get called on them. The way we regulate short-term rentals now is we treat them under the definition of hotels and motels that talk about what short-term rental is versus longer-term rental. And hotels and motels are considered short-term rental. So we issue a violation notice and say it's a hotel and motel, not permitted use in a single-family residential neighborhood. We've been successful both in our administrative adjudication program and also in our circuit court cases to get these facilities shut down. We know they're out there, and so one of the things that we have found is that these short-term rentals, and incidentally, our proposal is that a short-term rental is sort of taking the guidance that we get from real estate law, which is anything that's more than a short-term rental is typically a 6-month lease with 30-day out clauses to allow for evictions. So short-term rental in our ordinance, which is consistent with other ordinances around the country, is anything less than 30 days rental of your dwelling unit. So that's going to be the predicate for what is short-term rental for DuPage County. What we're proposing to do is treat short-term rentals in single-family residential units as a home occupation. The county has a home occupation code that allows for things that are not necessarily part of the dwelling unit, but are occupations that one would customarily find in a single-family home, like someone who teaches music lessons, someone who teaches French lessons or language lessons, someone, a sole proprietor who might have a real estate or legal office in their home where they bring people in. Our code allows for that as a home occupation as opposed to a home business. We don't call it a home business because we want to take the term business out of it. We don't want to prejudice the ordinance. We call it a home occupation. That code has specific requirements to meet the home occupation. It's got to be in the main portion of the home, can't be in an attached or detached accessory building or garage, can't have any signage, can't have any more than 3 people at any one time, things like that. So we're treating short-term rentals as a home occupation, allowing it as of right, and also along with all the other home occupation requirements, adding on some of the typical single-family residential requirements that we have in our zoning code. For instance, relative to who can be in that home, what amount of people can be in that home. Right now, under the county zoning ordinance, we have a definition of family. Definition of family is not more than, I take that back. Definition of family is people who are related by blood or marriage, or not more than 5 people who are unrelated by blood or marriage. For this short-term rental, you have to follow that requirement. You can have people in there who are related by blood or marriage, or you can have up to 5 people who are unrelated by blood or marriage. I'll get into how we regulate that later, but that's going to be one of the requirements. In addition, you may be aware of our parking regulations for single-family homes. You can't have more than 6 passenger vehicles on a residential property. A passenger vehicle is a vehicle that's 10,001, I'm sorry, it's under 10,001 pounds gross vehicle weight. That's the Illinois Vehicle Code standard for what a commercial vehicle is versus a passenger vehicle. So not more than 6 passenger vehicles on the property at any one time. That same requirement would follow with short-term rentals. In addition to that, we will be requiring that the owner of the property apply for and receive a license. First of all, register and license with the county as the short-term rental, and then have an annual renewal license, similar to what we have for liquor, video gaming, adult business uses, tobacco, things like that, because these are effectively a commercial enterprise in a residential zoning district. So we want to be able to regulate them on a yearly basis. We want to be able to inspect them prior to the business or the home occupation starting out to make sure that the building is in compliance with the building, zoning, health codes, and stormwater codes. Similar to what we do when someone applies for a permit, we go out and do a site inspection and make sure there's nothing on the property that currently is not in compliance with building, zoning, health, and stormwater. And if it's not in compliance, we make them get a permit and bring it into compliance. And then once it's compliance, there will also be a requirement that they indicate the operations of the Airbnb or short-term rental. And then also an acknowledgement affidavit that they have read the home occupation standards and the additional standards that are required to be a legal short-term rental. That will allow the county to inspect the properties on a regular basis. And the nexus and the money that we collect from that would go into a part of our housing fund that would then be used as part of our long-term housing strategies to loan money out for low interest loans, construction loans, other things associated with our housing program.
But that part's not in the ordinance, right?
That part is mentioned in the ordinance, but it's mentioned from the standpoint that that licensing program, they have to get the license, but the licensing program will be separate and apart from zoning. It'll be a completely different program, but you have to.
But my question was, the use of the money
Is not in this,
is not in it.
correct.
Okay, good.
And one of the things that we have to do as a government is, these are sort of trite, pretty simple things, but we've got to show that we've got a compelling government interest and we've got to have a nexus between this zoning code, this land use code, and what we would do with the funds that we've been putting into a housing program. And our position is that these short-term rentals are single-family homes that are being purchased by people or are owned by people that can't pay the mortgage on them, so they decide to rent them out and make money from that. They're taking away from people to be able to buy those properties as single-family homes, and they're also taking away the opportunity to have those properties rented for long-term rentals. So though the use is taking away from 2 vital issues that are happening in DuPage County, let alone the rest of the country, and that is taking away opportunities for people to own homes at a reasonable price and actually to rent long-term at a reasonable price, because now these are being rented on short-term. So we understand they're there, rather than chase them down through code enforcement and spend time and money and effort and go to court to get them to stop doing this. We know it's happening. From a practical land use standpoint, it has not been a problem. It hasn't had an impact on adjacent properties or roadways, other than when it gets to a point where it's a large party and it gets out of hand. And as I said earlier, the property owner calls us up and says, help me get the people out that I rented to. Now, one of the things that we put in this ordinance is that we understand, and we've seen this with some of our big events in DuPage County, whether they be at Cantini or at the Arboretum or at some of our golf courses, that people rent their houses out, and they rent them out for more than 5 people who are unrelated by blood or marriage. We get that. We have a provision in here that someone can ask for a special event. We have a special event program already in our zoning code, where if you're doing something extraordinary on your property, you can come in and seek the ability to do something extraordinary and get approval from the county development committee. So for instance, the President's Cup is going to be at Medina next year. And in the past, we've had the Ryder Cup, we've had several PGAs at Medina. Medina is a private country club. So when they do something extraordinary, like open their country club up to everybody in the world, that's a special event. We bring that to the development committee and we bring in all of the entities that would be involved in that. The sheriff, the state police, in some cases, the Secret Service, local road jurisdictions, state road jurisdictions, health, building, stormwater, division of transportation. And we have all of them look at the temporary program and sign off on the temporary program. We say, okay, you can do this for 2 weeks, and we've got all these extraordinary things in place for you to be able to do them. I know it's a bit of a leap in terms of short-term rentals, but if someone wanted to have more than 5 people unrelated by blood or marriage because there was an event going on, they could ask for a special event, bring it to the development committee and say, we're gonna, and give us more detail. And then we could put additional conditions on it and things like that. So that's the regulatory side of things. On the enforcement side of things, when someone violates our code, we issue a violation notice. They have 14 days by code and statute to be able to come into compliance. If they don't come to compliance, we take them to our administrative adjudication program. If we have to take it to the next level, we take it to circuit court. All of those things will be available to us with this program. In addition, we have the ability to simply pull their license if they are in violation at any one time. They'd still get a violation notice, but now we can also pull their license. And that has much more dramatic effect than a simple code violation. So from the standpoint of this potentially being not controllable, we don't have that problem right now for the most part. We've only had about 10 instances in the last 10 years where we've been made aware that Airbnbs are operating in unincorporated DuPage County. And as I said before, we did a study. We didn't want to bring that tonight because we know where all the Airbnbs are, but we don't want to submit that to the record because it wouldn't, submitting that to the record would mean we're acknowledging that they are out there and we're not issuing any violations. But at any one time in the last 2 years, once again, there's been anywhere from 60 to 300 Airbnbs in the unincorporated DuPage County. And in the past year, we've only had 2 incidents where people have called and complained. Having said that, we still have enforcement capabilities, and this will also give us another tool to be able to simply list their license. So that's our Airbnb program.
Which is an after-the-fact remedy if there is a problem. As opposed to styling this as a conditional use, which would require notice to the neighbors and be a sort of a before-the-fact remedy.
Our position is that there doesn't need, the presumption is there doesn't need to be a remedy.
Because there
hasn't been an issue. Yeah, there hasn't been an issue with it. As an example, when we when we brought to you another text amendment in this initiative, we brought to you this notion that one could have an accessory dwelling unit. Well, let me back up. We've always had the ability to have an accessory dwelling unit in your home for people who are over the age of 55 and a member of your family. And we've seen a few of those throughout the years. Basically, it's a mother-in-law or in-law's apartment where we're trying to bring mom home and have her live with us. But she has her own little space. We changed that last year to allow that same process, but with no age limitation and no familial limitation. But we made it a conditional use. We have brought other things to you and we've said, let's make these as of right. The reason we made that a conditional use is we recognized that that could potentially be a problem because we're allowing people to not only have a dwelling unit in their home, but also an accessory dwelling unit in an accessory building. And the difference between this and that is that now we've got someone living on the property for long-term periods in a separate building that heretofore has just been a garage or a detached building. And so the people that live next door to them had always recognized that detached building to be a garage and basically dormant. Now they've got a family or a person living in there full time. We've had issues with that, people taking their garages and converting them into homes, much more so than Airbnb complaints. And that's why we think, we don't have a problem, and if we do, and we don't have a preemptive way to handle it, but we've got a way to deal with it after the fact. And pulling the license, we think, can get it shut down more quickly than we can do other code enforcement.
I have, for a long time, rented monthly in resort areas or Mexico or whatever. And sometimes those months are 31 days. Why didn't you take 31 instead of 30?
So once again, the closest thing that we could find to long-term rental was typical real estate contracts that are 6 months with 30-day out clauses. And the 30-day out clauses is to allow for eviction. So that seems to stand the test of time, both legally and practically for the market. And so we took anything less than 30 as short-term rental.
But if you rent in a month that it has 31 days and your contract is for a month, that's a long-term rental. But a month that is 28 or 29 or 30 is a short-term rental?
Anything less than, and 29 or less would be short-term rental under this code. I don't disagree that there might be anomalies. One of the ways that you can deal with that anomaly is ask for a special event. If you wanted to go a little bit longer than the 29 days. We're not talking calendar days here. We're talking just the typical real estate contract is 6 months, 30-day out clauses. So we're doing short-term, anything less than 30 days. So you can rent for 29 days if you wanted to. And that would be short-term. 30th day. Now, arguably, you could do a second rental.
Okay, I thought it was 30 days or under, so it's under
30 days, yeah. The original conversation that I may have had, I may have said 30 days, but that is not consistent with
the standard.
the standard. It's
Real estate.
right. So it's got to be under 30 days. I know that's not a good round number, but it's under 30 days.
Dennis, did you have a question?
I do. So let's say I have somebody that I want to rent it to 59 days. Can I have him sign 2 rental agreements?
Sure. Two separate.
What?
I will tell you this, that in our building code, we have for the longest time, our policies were no temporary buildings, none. I found, and then we had golf courses coming to us and especially during COVID. But prior to COVID, we had golf courses coming to us like Pine, what's it called? Pine?
White Pines.
White Pines, White Pines, Cantini, Ruth Lake. They came to us and said, we want to put up a golf field. And from a zoning standpoint, we would say, get a special event, call it a day. And then they wanted to keep it up longer. And so I went into the building code and I said, well, you have the ability to put something up temporarily. And temporarily, we decided would be, it's gotta come down in a year. So 364 days of the year. And so we literally would issue a temporary building permit for a golf dome. And they would take the dome down one day and come back in for a building permit and put it back up. And that's technically legal. While it may be a bit of a loophole, but that would be consistent with what we're talking about here. Now, having said that, what we have found with the Airbnb or the short-term rental practices is that people are not doing that. Now, if you wanted to rent, well, first of all, if that's what you wanted to do, you will have already have registered with the county to be an Airbnb. But if you didn't register with the county to be an Airbnb and you had someone, you just want to rent out your place for 31 days, you would never have to register as an Airbnb or a short-term rental. You can do it. You can do that right now. 30 days and up. You can rent right now your home or a room in your house.
Without a permit, without,
You wouldn't have to meet this requirement. People right now are renting on a monthly basis rooms in their houses or their whole house to people through the standard rental agreement. That's not short-term rental, that's rental.
They just gotta meet everything else, 6 cars.
Yeah, well, to be fair, not fair, to be clear, one of the reasons we have not more than 5 people in the definition of family is A, we gotta be compliant with the Federal Fair Housing Act. B, we recognize that people do rent out rooms and they rent out their houses. So we established the not more than 5. Not more than 5 is no different than anything else that's going on, family-wise, and they have to meet all the other codes, every single code in a single-family residential property. So if you're renting your house out to 5 people right now on a 30 days or more, you're not in this program. Already exists, it already happens.
You're not in any program.
Not, well, it's in the single-family home program. You're in the single-family home program.
Yeah, okay.
You're in the program that you're in the zoning ordinance that we have right now.
Okay, well, I guess we can give it some thought. Anybody else?
I just have a question. If you can rent for 30 days, if I have an Airbnb, like if I wanted to rent it for 30 days, why couldn't I just do that in the other program?
Well, first of all, there is no other program. You're just in a single-family residential home situation, and you've chosen to rent your house out. If you right now choose to rent your house out on a short-term basis, less than 30 days, and we become aware of it, we say 2 things. You're in violation of our zoning code. A, because you can't do that, and B, if you want to do it, you got to get an Airbnb license, and then you can do it and follow all those rules.
No, I understand, but I guess my question is, if I have an Airbnb and I'm running it out for a week at a time or 29 days often, but somebody comes to me for a 30-day, couldn't I just rent it out to them for 30 days? Because I would be,
In
And
theory,
they don't have to stay the 30th.
He said you could do it twice.
so here's the situation. In theory, you would have to do different Airbnb contracts. Now, practically, you may not do that, but in theory, that's what you have to do to meet the ordinance. We know that people may rent out more than 30 days. If we get a complaint that says, I think people are living in there more than 30 days, we go back to the Airbnb agreement that they have with the county. We take a look at it. We see if they're in compliance with the Airbnb contract. And if it turns out that they rented for more than 30 days, they'd get a violation notice. And they would have to come into compliance and they could potentially lose their license. The chances of us finding out about that are very remote. Now, that's not to excuse the fact that someone might be technically violating the ordinance, but I can tell you, every piece of property in the unincorporated area is likely in violation of some county zoning code. It's not until someone calls us up or we go out on a matter where we're inspecting the property because of one thing and we see something else, do we start to issue violation notices. From a technical standpoint, they wouldn't be able to do that. From a practical standpoint, it's probably gonna happen. Does that make sense?
yeah, but I guess I just am looking at it and it sort of seems like, well, if I'm running it out short term and I'm doing all of these other ones, why would it be a violation? Because I can already rent my home for 30 days, long-term rental. Or is it just because I'm in the program?
Because you said you were gonna be in the program and follow the program
I can
rules.
no longer do that.
And the idea there is if you're renting out long-term, then you've done 2 things. You are irrespective of what you might be renting it for, you're at least not taking the property away from a long-term renter, even if the long-term renter is 31 days.
Sure.
So that helps out with our housing solutions program. B, if you are coming in and out of the program, you're gonna have to make a decision at some point if it becomes a problem, if it manifests itself as a problem. 3,
How do you know that?
people call us up and say, hey, these people have been living there for 2 months. It's the same way we get any violation complaint. Someone calls us up or the sheriffs call us up or someone visits. However, we get complaints and we go out and inspect. And if someone says, hey, these people, as an example, these people have been living here for 2 months and usually it manifests itself in some other way. Well, let's take all those other incidents that could potentially happen out of the equation. Someone calls up and says, I'm aware of your short-term rental program. It's not more than 29 days. He's here on his 30th day. You need to come out and inspect. And if he's in violation, we technically have to issue a violation.
Except for Mr. Moran's notion that, oh no, you missed the point. I made him sign a second lease.
If he signed a second lease, they would show us that. Absolutely. As an example, and I gotta be careful about mixing apples and oranges here. But we have people that have recreational vehicles that park their recreational vehicles in front of the front wall of their house.
Yeah, we sure do.
Can't do it. You gotta be behind the front wall of the house. Many instances, we'll get a complaint, we go out, the guy goes, yep, I just parked it here, I'm cleaning it, it'll be gone tomorrow. And we give him 14 days, we check it out, 14 days, it's gone. Now, the ones that don't, we go to the next level. Similar type thing here. We would, if they came into compliance right away, we're done. If they don't come into compliance right away, violation, plus we have the potential to pull their license. The other thing practically that we found is that if you do short-term rentals, you're gonna make a lot more money than if you do long-term rentals. Your risk goes up in terms of your insurance and in terms of your potential liability in many different things. But you make a heck of a lot more money. And we have a lot of people out there that have bought properties. We have one lady, or one person that has 5 single-family homes and all she does is Airbnb them, and we have her in court. We have a lot of people just buying properties because the value of properties in DuPage County is incredible because of the need for corporate housing. We've seen a lot of that. Anyway,
Okay,
that is my presentation. Thank you.
I think we've exhausted our questions. May I ask Ms. Stern, does this additional conversation engender any follow-up questions from you? Or are you still satisfied that, you'll comment later?
Hi, sorry. Yeah, we will definitely provide comments at a later point.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll indicate there's no old business, no new business, and so we're ready to adjourn the meeting. And
Thank you.
reconvene on October 2.